Have you ever thought to yourself, is this all there is? G'day. There's a predictable journey a lot of people make with their photography. They start by realising that some of their snapshots actually have a good look to them. Then they want to feel that satisfaction of being able to be good at something. So they take up photography as a hobby. Then they research what makes a good photo. Then they spend years following the rules of photography. They get to the limit of their quick growth. Then they think, well, gear is the answer. More gear or better gear will take me up to the next level or two. So then they spend lots of money on gear and lenses that YouTubers push and gush over. They lose sight of the creativity of making images over chasing sharpness and bokeh. Then they get frustrated that the more money they've spent, the further away they've gotten from their creativity. And they stand at that final path that leads off into the misty mountains. Will they lay down their burden of all that nice new expensive gear and climb that path towards creativity, or will they just sell off all their gear that they've spent a lot of money on and give up in frustration and sit on the couch and get fat and depressed watching reruns of Diff'rent Strokes? So does that sound familiar? I've seen it a lot. People who have that spark of creativity, then over time they lose it because they follow the advice of YouTubers, say, don't do this and you must do that, and oh, by the way, your lens isn't sharp enough. So what is wrong with the advice that YouTubers give you? How is it different than, say, the advice you will get from, say, a local photographic society without the affiliate links below? Well, everywhere you look, you'll be told to follow the rules of photography. The rule of thirds, the rule of three, which is a different thing altogether. How you must shoot for the light, how you must shoot for the shadows. Now, the composition has to be correct. How to get leading lines, how to layer your images. You'll be told that composition is everything. You'll be told lighting is everything. You'll be told sharpness is everything. So let me come out and say it. There are no rules. Zero. None. Zilch. Nada. So if you answer this question, you'll know whether images are any good. Who are you taking photographs for? If you're a professional, that is a person who is paid to take photos, you have to take photos for your client, not for yourself. Your images must please the client enough that they'll give you money for them. If you're a hobbyist, then you don't have to be that restricted. You can take images for yourself. Fortunately, most of you are not professionals, you're hobbyists. I used to be a professional, now I'm retired, I'm a hobbyist. I can take photos for myself. Before, I had to take photos for my clients. Now, there's no shame in being a hobbyist photographer because you're better off than the professionals. You have the luxury of taking photos for yourself, exploring what you like. A professional can't do that. They've got clients, they have to take photos that please the client. So as a hobbyist, you're already ahead of the game, more so than the professional. However, everywhere you look, there's traps laid out to snare you, to make you feel bad about your photos, to sell you courses, to sell you gear, to derail you from taking the images that you like. A common trap most hobbyists fall into is taking photos for social media, to have an Instagram account, or as some people call it, the Instantgram. And on Instagram, you're tempted to put up photos that other people will like, so you can get likes and followers, and you can watch those numbers go up. So you end up being busy taking photos that you think will please other people. You look at the other sites that have lots and lots of followers and likes and clicks, and you look at their photos and say, oh, that style is in, I'll do that. So with social media things like Instagram, you get conned into taking pictures for thousands of people you've never met who will never pay you, And as soon as you slow down, they'll drop you and follow some other mug who's willing to put all that time and effort in to pleasing people they'll never meet. Taking photos for strangers on social media is a very quick path to burnout and depression. Well then, how about instead taking photos for people who say there are rules to follow? Surely then your images will get better, you'll get better at taking photos if you follow all these rules. Well, let's have a look at these rules. Where are they? Are they in some official rule book put out by the official Worldwide Photographers Society? What? There's no such group? There's no such rule book? There's no photography police who could haul you in front of a photography judge who might fine you and ban you from taking photos and confiscate all your gear if you break the rules? But that means there are no rules and there are no rulers. So what the F stop are all these YouTubers going on about rules? Okay, let me tell you, there's two basic types of YouTube channels out there. The first are the bad ones. They're the ones who want to make themselves feel good by putting everybody else down. You're doing the wrong thing. Never do this. You must do this. You're making a mistake. These are not the lenses to buy. These are the lenses to buy. Your photos aren't sharp enough. We've all seen countless YouTubes out there like that. All made by people who want to set themselves up to be better than you. So ignore that bad type of YouTuber. They'll just give you grief for no good reason than to get clicks and likes and people subscribing to them. Ignore them. And there's the second type. People who will try to guide you into taking photos that won't scare the horses, that'll look good framed on the wall above your couch. Okay, they're the ones who talk about rules of thirds and rules of three and good lighting and perfect composition and all that sort of stuff. Trouble is, they call these things rules of photography, but they're not. They're at best basic guidelines that have been used by artists through the centuries. They've guided painters of all sorts of different styles. They're not rules and they're not for photography. They're ways art might look good, and they change over the years. So there might be recommendations of where you place your character, where the light is coming from, where the shadows are. Are you going to use colour to highlight something? Is there going to be a leading line? Are there going to be layers? All these things applied to painters, artists for centuries, and now photographers have adopted a lot of these things. And quite often in the past, artists broke those rules and made their own style, and at first they were criticised heavily, and then all of a sudden they became a major art movement and they were the ones ruling the roost. So now we've established that taking photos for other people, especially on social media, is a big waste of your time and energy. And two, there are no rules. There's just some guidelines you can start with. You can break them, you can ignore them. They're not rules. But then you might think, but by following these rules, recommendations, my photos will end up being good and acceptable. I mean, these things are judged in the photography world, aren't they? Let me burst that little bubble for you. I've had enough of my images evaluated or judged over the years to have an understanding of how the system works. First up, these judges have no qualifications. Remember, there is no body out there who rules the photographic world. There is no rule book. There are no rules. There are no rulers. There's just people who like photography and like to encourage others in it. Mostly, that's why these judges do this. Now, I say this for the local photographic society level, and I'm a happy member of my local photo society. They're all made up of people who got together and are making it up as they go along. So from that local level all the way up to the big international competitions that you might hear about, it's all being made up as you go along. And these groups have absolutely no power over how you will take photos. You can follow your photographic passion all your life here on Earth, and they have no influence or power over how you can take your photos. You can listen to their advice and maybe follow some of it, or you can totally ignore it and go along your way happily. As for their judging, they are at best people who love photography, or at least did so at some stage in their life, and they have opinions. End of story. And I can say that because I've been a judge or evaluator, and I will be in the future. Now remember, there are no rules, so what a judge says about your photos just comes from their own personal opinion, likes and dislikes. They are mostly harmless and sometimes entertaining, but don't take them too seriously, it tends to go to their heads. Well, and what about the top level of international photography judging? I mean, can't you take them seriously? I mean, isn't that where the rubber really hits the road? Well, let me burst that bigger bubble for you. There's been a spate of recent high-level photographic competitions that went sort of sideways. Australian electronics company DigiDirect hold regular photographic competitions, and one of theirs was recently won by an AI image, not a photograph. It caught them by surprise. Then, in the most significant AI image story of the year, Boris Eldgerson refused his prize in the Sony World Photography Awards after he revealed that the image that won his image was an AI image. It was fake. It was not a photograph. Then, in a story that flipped that script, a real image was refused in a competition because the judges thought this real photograph was AI. So, how can anyone take even the highest level of photographic competitions seriously in their judging when the judges often don't even know if they're looking at a photograph or not? Don't take them too seriously. We've established that taking photographs for other people, especially for social media, is a big waste of your time and energy. There are no rules, there's just guidelines you can take to heart or ignore. Photographic societies on any level are basically a bunch of people who like to take photos. You can take some advice from them or ignore them, enjoy them, whatever you want. So basically it's the story of the Wizard of Oz. There's lots of noise generated about rules and judges and competitions and the way you must do things and the way you must not do things and what makes a good photograph. And it's a lot of noise generated by people who are gatekeepers, for want of a better word. And really, you can ignore them because they only have the power you allow them to have. If you subject yourself to all their rules and regulations and advice and everything, you end up taking photos to please them, not photos to please yourself. So back to my original question, who are you taking photographs for? You should be taking photographs that please yourself. And when you look at one of your images, how does it make you feel? If it makes you feel like there's something there, follow that path, follow that passion, follow that creativity. Take photos for yourself. Bye.